Hello, gamers. It's Mew, and so far people seem to really like Hybrid High, which is a good thing. So I wanted to make a video telling the rough timeline of making Hybrid High. I recorded audio for this unscripted at first, but after some consideration, I decided I wanted to give Hybrid High a better making of, so I wrote a script this time. So it's gonna be a little less rambly, but still kind of rambly, you know. In the background, I'll just be playing all the concept art I made. So I'm not gonna really explain the concept art. I feel like there's not a whole lot to explain, and anything that is will be just written in the concept art. But anyways, the main reason I wanted to make Hybrid High was to have some kind of storyboard to put in my portfolio. There was other reasons too. I also wanted to reboot an old story, and I also wanted to show a potential pilot of something to a potential pilot of something to pitch in the future if I do more with the story, which I would really like to do something more with the story. But more on that later. Anyway, Hybrid High was an old story that was episodic. I actually read the older version of it on my channel if you want to just briefly check out what the old version of it was like. And it was about Winter and her siblings attending this high school. Like many of my old stories, it didn't have much of a plot. Back in its first version, that didn't work so much because it was a written story, I don't know many stories that are episodic. It also used to just be standalone, its own thing, but when I rebooted it, I decided I was going to work it into the universe of my main story, Kingdoms. I didn't really have a rhyme or reason for that, honestly. I just felt like it. I like to connect my stories if I find, if it works, it works. And I think it did, in my opinion, at least. So, Hybrid High was one of 8 stories that I was considering making into a pilot. I still have an interest in these other story ideas, but they're in the back of my mind. I already juggle way too much, and I'd like to finish other stuff before working on any of these ideas or Hybrid High. The current thought with Hybrid High is that I want to finish something before I focus on it. But just for fun, I'll also list the other story ideas. Maybe one day I'll also do something with these other ideas. But I think I have a lot of considerations and stuff to do that. Okay. First up, The Land of Machi. It was a story about magical girls based on card suits that fight in some kind of war. I'm probably maybe gonna change the war part because I use that plot point in my stories way too much for some reason. I'm also a big fan of this webcomic that heavily uses card suits and kingdoms based off card suits though, so if I wanted to reboot this, I have to tread really carefully because I don't want to unintentionally copy that other story. By the way, go read Cards, the webcomic by RDE or Elabane Art. I'll put more info here because I have to check my sources. I'll put a screenshot of the webtoon so you can read it. Second, The Zodiacs. What a great and imaginative title, am I right, guys? Anyways, Zodiac magical girls are awakened on Earth and brought to a fictional planet and have to protect the 4 princesses of the elements and their kingdoms. Zodiacs are really used a lot in writing. Elements, those are everywhere. And I am not immune to doing the same stuff that people do. I don't think the original version of this was bad or anything. I actually read this one on my story or on my channel too. But I have a lot of considerations, and also with the way I went about the story in the first edition, there was a lot of characters, so I'm gonna have to consider some stuff like, do I cut back the character count or maybe just like focus on a few? The others just kind of are there. Anyway, Third is The Island. What a great story title. Am I right, guys? Anyway, 6 kids, each from a different continent, spend their summer on an island navigating the mysteries and such of the island. Um, this was just a for fun thing on the slideshow. This really big slideshow me and my friends had in high school. Um, for some reason we all had a thing where like me and like 2 other people wrote mystery stories on the slideshow for some reason, and I'm like, I want to do that too. So the island was my way of like doing a mystery story. um I think the concept is cool. It's just I have to also consider some stuff if I were to ever reboot this, because I'm not sure how many mysteries I could come up with. I think I need to read some mystery stories actually if I do something with this. This is a more vague story idea, but something to do with the demigods. It's very vague because I don't really have real ideas for this, but it would be something akin to Percy Jackson, except all demigods of all different cultures are involved. So, yeah. What a obviously this, I think you can see why I didn't really go with this one. That was the fourth. The fifth was Marked by a Goddess, which also I didn't have real ideas for, but basically characters in the story can receive a blessing in the form of a permanent tattoo-like shape on their body with special powers, and this would also be set in the Kingdoms universe. Yeah. The seventh idea, tarot, would be a story based on tarot cards with no real ideas, but tarot cards would be very significant to the story, whatever it would be. And eighth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, this is the seventh one. Jesus Christ, I can count, guys. So, doesn't really have an actual title. It's just a post-apocalyptic element story, because I use the elements a lot too. So the idea is that the entire human race has died out, with elemental inspireds taking over in their place. And a water princess and a sand prince leave their home because they're bored, I guess. I don't know, this is super vague. So Hybrid High won because it was the one that was actually the most thought out, but even so, even without the votes, I was also very into this idea myself. It's like, out of these, it's the oldest. Honestly, I think it's actually older than Kingdoms too, so it's got a lot of sentimental value for me. But yeah. 2 people like the post-apocalyptic story and the Land of Machi. And then there was also 1 vote for the Zodiacs. Or no, 1 vote for the Zodiacs, the Island, and Marked by a Goddess. Obviously, Hybrid High won. So during like last May of last year, I wrote out the entire script. I got my voice actors. I don't remember exactly when, but I think they were like casted by like July or August. And while I was doing that, I was also looking back at my old Hybrid High art so I could redesign the characters, mostly concepts, but I think doing this informed me well of what their final designs, at least for the pilot, would be. I'm probably gonna change some things though for like their final design, or just explore, because like nothing has been really set in stone. I'm still keeping my mind open for any changes I want to do. It started off well at first, but I think I spent too long designing characters that, like, there's a bunch that I designed that don't even show up in the pilot. Like, if not, like, yeah. So anyway, the last few characters I think had some of the worst designs. But now at least I have stuff to work off of for the future. I also designed the backgrounds too, and also the uniforms. Backgrounds especially, because I struggle with those really bad. If you watched the Hybrid Eye pilot, you could probably tell, but hopefully I went by. All the comments are positive, so I did something right, I think. I also did try to learn something new. I tried to draw a 3D background in Blender, but it went pretty bad, honestly. So, anyway, I think once I finished the concept art, at least for the characters and backgrounds, I started to draw the boards. I tested a few different storyboarding programs just so I could say I have this experience. Ultimately though, I like Storyboarder the best, which is what I now use primarily for my boards. Um, my boards were and still are not the prettiest in the world, and looking back, there's definitely things that I would like to change, but ultimately, I'm proud of the fact that I made an entire fucking pilot and got like voice actors and did all the editing and blah blah blah, so you know. And while I was drawing, I asked my voice actors for the lines, with priority for the ones that actually appeared in the first few scenes and least priority for the minor characters that appear later on. Some sent them in relatively quickly, others didn't, just due to life stuff. Nothing like, I don't think anyone was like actively just not sending in lines to be difficult or something. But eventually, everyone had their lines in at some point, and that's what I cared the most about. I think my biggest mistake with this project was waiting for all the lines to be in before I start editing, because I had all the art done for a long time, but I just spent a lot of time just waiting on the lines, even when I had like the first couple like lines from the first few scenes. And honestly, I probably could have just, as soon as I had all the lines that I actually needed, I probably could have started working with what I had, and I think this is why this project took so long. I didn't expect it to take almost a year. That's on me. I'm sorry. But eventually, though, I finally actually started working on the editing at, God, when? I don't remember. Um, but yeah, initially I was just working a little bit on Wednesday, however much I could stomach. But partway through working on this, CapCut was banned along with TikTok. So I was entering panic mode because while TikTok was like banned for less than 24 hours, it took a little bit for CapCut to get unbanned again. So slowly I worked on it, and then I learned that CapCut and TikTok were going to be banned again on April 5th. Unfortunately, on April 5th, I learned that the banning, I guess, I don't even know if it's still happening at this point, but apparently it was pushed back 90 more days, so I kind of was crunching all for nothing, but I think the final was mostly good. A couple missing lines that I just decided to leave be because I was worried that I wouldn't get the lines in time and then it would be banned, so then I would just lose all the work I did. And that's another thing I should have done earlier. I should have listened to everyone's lines and made sure that they had them, because there was a few instances of realizing, oh wait, there's a couple missing lines. That's on me. I should have should have listened and been like way earlier. I should have listened to the lines and be like, hey, thanks for the lines. You got these lines in. I still need these lines though. So yes, a few bumps in the road, but ultimately I think this went well. I'm very happy to have this finished, and I'm really grateful to my voice actors and voice actresses. Not 100% happy with art in Hybrid High, but uh again, that's why I'm so grateful for the actors and actresses. I think they all really carried this, and they made it much better than it would have been as a silent video. Honestly, I I don't think anyone wants to watch a 20 something minute long silent video of characters talking. So, anyway, I've kind of vaguely mentioned this, but I will say this again. What will I be doing with Hybrid High in the future? Um, there's no plans to completely drop or stop working on this. Definitely taking a break, but I will be doing maybe like something what Ginger Ninja OWO has been doing with their Prism series. I'll make sketchbooks exploring the concepts and the ideas of Hybrid High, you know? I don't know. Let me know if you would be interested in that. Um, I'd love to do something more with it in the farther future. I feel like 5 or more years? That's not a hard and fast deadline. Maybe it'll be more, maybe it'll be less, who knows? Maybe I'd pitch to a studio, maybe I'd go indie animation route, which would probably mean I need to learn about the animation industry more and the pipeline. But indie animation is kind of carrying animation as a whole right now, so you know, something to consider. One of many things to consider. Or maybe I could do something similar to the pilot, which if I did something kind of like the pilot, I would definitely try to make the art be better. Um, I don't think it would be full color unless I got like someone to do the coloring for me, or maybe I'd probably like it to be grayscale though. I in like the very couple first few frames of the Hybrid High pilot, it was grayscale. I originally planned it to be grayscale, but I dropped that pretty quickly. I'm sorry if I misled you or made you upset into with the first few frames being grayscale and then the rest was not colored. And like it would probably be something similar to Kalimar's Wildward series, like color wise and visuals wise, I guess. Which, by the way, you should totally check out Wildward. I think it's a very interesting story. But anyways, like I've said, I was very happy with the performances of all my voice actors, and I would love for them to return to work on any future Hybrid High project. Because no matter what, I'm hoping I can get voice acting again. I really want to do that. Um, if not them as the same roles, then maybe they'll get cast as a different character, or even just make a cameo. A few have already expressed interest, so I'm sure a few of them would return for this in the future. My hope is that if I go bigger with Hybrid High, I can pay them. They graciously lend their voices and time to me for free, and I'm so thankful for that. But until I work on Hybrid High again, I'm going to be exploring different episode ideas, different character arcs, altering designs. Um, I'll do some stuff for it on YouTube. I'll make videos about that. But I will try to not, I don't want to reveal everything that I plan to do about them on the internet. Like, I'll put some stuff on Patreon maybe. But I would like to try to keep some things close just because, like, I'm not super certain, I want to explore ideas, drop the ones I don't want to do. But anyway, just because I won't be doing anything on the scale of the pilot for a while at least, hopefully again in the future I'll do something again, but that doesn't mean you're not going to see the characters of Hybrid High again. I still plan on posting and showing the Hybrid High cast, but it's going to be considerably less because Kingdoms is the main project, and I'm very into it at the moment. Speaking of, I should really do a Kingdoms status report. Anyways, thank you for watching this making of Hybrid High. I hope this was interesting to you. I don't think I have much else to say, so I think I will be calling it here. Bye!